What is risk forward-looking solution and how it is applied in Raiffeisen Bank Serbia will now be presented by Nikola Basta, Vladimir Ljubibratic and Uros Djurov from Comtrade System Integration and Raiffeisen Bank Serbia. Guys, please welcome to the stage.
Hello, Zoran, thank you. Good day to all, and happy to see you all here at the ending sessions of the Data Science Conference. And what it is about this presentation is about democratization of the development in the data science and putting the tools that the professional developers and the business users are blended together. So we are working with the Raiffeisen Bank for some of time, improving their processes and improving their solution, mainly in the risk business. And this is something that is core into the Comtrade, what the Comtrade is doing. And also this is something that is in core with Nikola, please join, and Uros as a team. So we put together a joint team from the risk, Nikola leading innovation lead from the Raiffeisen, and Uros is our data engineer. So these are the guys that will present today and that build the solution. So this is a short agenda. What was the need? What we built? Second, what are the means and why we use that tools to build the solution? And secondly, what we actually built, presented by the Uros. So Nikola, tell us something about the company and what was the need for this solution implementation.
Thank you, Vlado, for this short introduction. Hello to everyone. My name is Nikola Basta. I am a risk innovation leader in the Raiffeisen Bank Serbia, and today we're going to speak about our latest innovation, a risk forward-looking solution, which we have developed together with our colleagues from Comtrade System Integration. So before we start, I want to show you what was the life in the risk before this solution. So, as you know, in the bank, on one side we have risk division, and on the other side we have colleagues from the business. And their day-to-day life, their needs are depending on what we are doing inside the risk. So they're sending to us a huge amount of requests connected with different kinds of analysis and calculations. And those requests are coming in form of an email. So we receive an email, we read what is the request, then we, if everything is clear, delegate that to one of our colleagues who is actually working with the analysis. If not, we are then sending back a request again to collect all necessary information. When the calculation is done, we are wrapping that up in some Excel file or CSV file, creating a report, and sending this analysis back to our colleagues in the business. So as you can see, the process is not created in the most optimal way. And we also notice that, and we sit down and think about how we can improve this, how we can change this, how we can remove this artificial boundary between the business users and the risk users. And we decide basically to move the power of risk calculations in the hand of the business. And how we accomplish that? So we decide to create interactive solution, which will be on one side user-friendly, enough user-friendly for the business users, and on the other side it will be scalable, and it will be scalable and flexible for colleagues in the risk. The main goal is to enable quick scenario testing, quick analysis, with the end result of basically reports with key risk KPIs needed for decision-making in the risk and also in the business. So to give you an example, we have a colleague in the business who logs in into our application. He or she selects what calculation they want to run. They submit some necessary filters, so whether this calculation should be executed on the portfolio level or on a single client level. And after that, they submit some necessary parameters. So for example, what will happen with main risk KPIs if we change, for example, exposure on one client, or what will happen if we change the rating rate for the whole sector? What will happen if we change the collateral on some deal? After that is submitted, colleagues from the business just click the run button and calculation in the backend is executed, and in just a couple of minutes we have our report ready. So a huge shift in the work in comparison with the previous time. So on the other hand, what does this mean for the colleagues in the risk? So in the backend, they're creating all of these reports and calculations, and they're submitting them on the cloud. These calculations created once can be used multiple times by multiple users simultaneously. And with this, we basically enable parallel work both on the risk and on the business side. What is also important, that only thing that is here missing is actually those filters and parameters which are entered by the business users. They are propagated down in the scripts which are hosted on the cloud. The scripts are executed, and we have our visualizations ready in a form of Power BI reports. So why this is all important? So we are tackling here three main things. So the first one, we are enabling data-driven risk and business decision-making. The second one is we are basically here reducing time spent on impact analysis. And the third thing, we are actually drastically reduce time from request for one analysis to delivery of this same analysis. And the last part, so regarding the technical overview, we decided here to go with Microsoft Power Platform, or more precisely Microsoft Power Apps when we're speaking about user interface. And apart from that, Microsoft Power BI regarding the reports and visualizations as the end tool. And under the hood, we are using Azure Databricks as central place for hosting and orchestration of all of our scripts and calculations and analysis. More about why we choose this from the technical point of view, I will hand the stage to my colleague Vlado.
Nikola, thank you. So that was the clear goal, but the key word here was to remove the barrier between the business and the technical guys, between the risk department that runs the calculation and the business department that needs to sell some credits and put the portfolio into the action. So basically, you have two sides. You have the business that knows what you need to do and needs really fast that. And from the other side, you have the IT experts from the security perspective, from the data engineering, from the data science perspective. And most of the times, they don't get each other. So there is a lot of back and forth. So we need that platform, something that could blend the work of those two teams together, to democratize the process of the development, to be fast, to put the developers where they need to be on the data science side, to run the scripts and develop the programs, but also has something to the business users that they can feel the user interface, rapidly build the applications that are all connected together. So the cloud is obviously the solution for doing that. And we use the Microsoft Power Platform components. You may heard for some of them, Power BI is basically the leading platform for the data visualization. But there are other components of the platform. Power Apps for rapidly building low-code applications, Power Automate to integrate, to connect, to run the processes. And these are putting something into the low code, and there is high code. So if you integrate the low code part, front end part, where business users are familiar, fine, they know what needs to be developed. With the developers, is a developer for the API management, the Azure functions, for the code or something, or the data scientists and the engineers for the Azure Data Factory, for the ETL processes, Databricks, for the scripts, data science work, SQL on the, or whatever database, or Synapse Analytics if you want to use the whole suite of the Microsoft data analytical tools, you got something that is very powerful. And from the enterprise perspective, these tools needs to be secured, put it into the DevOps for the CI/CD development of that, and you are making something that has the benefits of the both worlds. So this is the high level of the solution that is built there. So from the on-premise data, for the Raiffeisen, moving data to the cloud, running scripts to the Databricks, storing results to the SQL database, and presenting the results to the Power Apps and the Power BI to be run by the users. And this is basically the usual data project, how it works. And this is something that is built for the bank. But actually, this model and how it is worked can be done also in the finance, telco, whatever industry. And the best part is that the red business is focused on the business function, usability, UX, how it works, and the other part of the team is working on their side for doing that tools. That bring us kind of stability, kind of good communication, and agility into the process. Usually, this kind of processes takes a lot of time, but with this, in 2 months, the solution can be done. And this is the means why we use this platform. And what we actually use as a tools, please, Uros, give us some hints.
Okay. So thank you, Vladimir and Nikola, very much for creating this short overview why we came to this conclusion. Now I'll just try to take you through the technical overview of all the tools that we were creating and using for this specific use case in Raiffeisen Bank. So first we are starting with the source. We always have to analyze some data, and based on that we are going to create modifications to them to come to a different conclusion. Or let's say that the business can create data-driven decisions based on which they can choose what to do in the next steps. So this is a technical overview of the complete from source to the serving of the data. As you can see, these are all the services that were used, and I'm trying to briefly overview them all from beginning till the end, how the data flows throughout the whole system. So first we are going to start with the source. When you're analyzing all the data that you have, based on that analysis, you will probably choose the tools from which you are going to create the final data which is served to the end users. Here we are having data processing from SharePoint and from the standard Oracle databases, which will be coming in batches. If you are analyzing any type of data sources, you can always consult the 3 V's of big data. So what is the volume, what is the velocity, and what is the veracity of the data. From then you can choose what are you going to use to transform that data. If you're having some streaming data that needs to be done in batches or in streaming as it is said, you can use maybe some Power Queries and so on to get the data in the most optimal way. Or if you have a huge variety of data, if it is coming from multiple sources, if the data is coming in pictures, videos, audios, CSV files, databases, and semi-structured data even, you can always consult the 3 big V's so you know what to do in the future. And based on those transformations that you are going to have, you need to create data-driven decisions which will make the business's life much easier on a daily basis. So afterwards, when we want to transform that data, we need to have some tools how we are going to transform them. Here we use Azure Data Factory, which is an online ETL tool on the Azure Power Portal. And based on it, you can create huge, you can transform huge amounts of data based on the integration runtime which you are using as the main resource for these transformations. If you are using already SSIS for some of your ETL transformations, you can upload those packages directly to Azure Data Factory, and from there you can run them without any changes, which is a huge plus for this scenario. Also, if you're having some problems, because it has a huge variety of connectors to the most common sources, if you don't even have some connectors, you can always use another service which is called Azure Logic App, which was our situation. For instance, it still doesn't have any capabilities to connect to the SharePoint, but with Logic Apps, we created a workaround how to store that data in, let's say, Azure Data Lake. From here, the logic app is taking any information when a new file or a new data source is coming through the SharePoint. And from there, there is a trigger which will store our data in data lake. Okay, after transforming that data and picking it up, we need to store it somewhere. In our scenario, since data lake storage was already mentioned, we can go through them. Data storage has two specific generations which it uses. The second generation is much more optimal, and it is a combination between Azure Data Lake Storage Generation 1 and Azure Blob Storage. So from here, you can use best of the both worlds, let's say. You can create files, classifications, subdirectories, products, and create permissions for every of those subfolders and folders, so you can control the access, who can access which type of data and which not. You can store everything from specific blobs to videos, images, text files, even tables. Everything is available through Azure Data Lake Storage. And also, we used a database which is operational, and something that is probably for you data enthusiasts who are working with these platforms, if you're not so into database administration, one of the main, let's say, means how you can use it is to administer that data. When you're trying to analyze what are your performances if you have a little slow running for some data which you expected to be finished much earlier. You have complete metrics that could be found on the Azure portal. Based on that, you can choose to pick either their insights or even to input some specific metrics that you want to watch by yourself, and based on that, have a confirmation. Do you have to tweak your query? Do you need to add some additional resources to create that workload to be done in a similar fashion for the time optimization that you need? Afterwards, we are coming to maybe the core component for our solution, which is Azure Databricks. And based on Databricks, we, let's say, modified additionally huge amounts of data. So it is really reliable for data engineering. It is great for visualizations because you can, from the source code and from the platform, directly see what is the output of your data in any type of way. It is really collaborative for data science because it has a lot of tools which enable data scientists to use. And it's running Apache Spark in the background of it, so it is compatible with a variety of programming languages, which include Scala, Python, SQL, and R. So if you already have some types of codes or some models that you want to run on the cloud because you need more resources, the variety of data is coming in bigger batches, you need you expect higher volumes to be coming in the future, it is pretty scalable and you can migrate all that to cloud to perform it in an optimal way. So when we are talking about Databricks, the main computation power of it is a cluster. A cluster is created in a specific way where you send a request. That request works with a driver and some specific worker nodes. So the driver is some kind of resource negotiator which talks to those specific workers. And then if some workers are idle or don't have anything to do at that moment, it sends that workload to that specific worker. When it's done, it negotiates back to the driver, and the driver gives us the back information, what is completely done and what isn't. It's all pretty scalable, and you can change the configurations of the complete cluster within a few clicks, and it's up and running in a few minutes. So even if you're performing some type of deep learning, you can create clusters which have GPUs inside of it to perform data analysis much faster. And you can also scale the worker nodes, which are going to execute all that data that is coming from the driver. Also here, if you have some problems where you expect some data to be processed faster or slower in some fashion, you can always consult the graphic user interface, which is for the analysis of the performance. Based on this, you can probably come to a conclusion if, for instance, all of your memory is being used, then you need to either expand the memory or shorten the workloads. Try to partition the data to send it to multiple workers so they can work in a similar fashion and faster and give you the product and the results in a, let's say, most optimal way. After this, when all the data is transformed again, if you have some learning modules and so on, we are going to serve that data to our end users. As already mentioned, here we are using Power Platform, and this is an overview directly for Raiffeisen Bank and how it is used. Here we have some specific models that were implemented and how they are going to work. Let's just take a brief overview of one of them. You have the user interface from which the users can filter out data and see what do they want to transform. You have input parameters that could be, let's say, created. And from there, the users can always create some specific changes and even do a filter review of what they are doing with the data to know that they exactly impacted that specific batch that they are working on, so they don't have to start queries and wait for the results and then go and run it again, like Nikola explained how it is complicated when you are trying to communicate. From here, you can already see if you created a fault in the first step, and afterwards, the job is generated, and you can choose the type of visualization which you want to see the data. You can either see it through Power Apps directly through tabular results if you want to look at the whole data set specifically, if you're targeting a specific customer, or if you're targeting a specific change to see how it impacted the portfolio completely. You can use Power Tiles, which will give you a brief overview of the analytics, how they are being generated, and do they serve your complete needs. If you want to create some specific changes, again, you can return to the previous screen, change the parameters, input a new client, see how all of those changes will impact your portfolio. If you think you can stress it a little more, just stress it a little more, okay? And something that should be the final and key visualization for everything is Power BI. From here, you can create dashboards which have graphs, KPIs, tabular views. You can sort, filter out the data, and complete everything in the similar fashion of Power Tiles. So this is the complete overview of the solution that we have, and I would like to let Nikola to make a brief overview of everything and how he is expecting this to go in the future.
Thank you, Uros, for this great detailed view about the technical overview, what this solution looks like in the backend. I will just now put some final words here about what we've done and what are our plans for the future. Just have in mind that this solution was developed in under 2 months. That is one of the main benefits apart from all that you saw here. And I hope that now you have a better view of what we are doing in the Raiffeisen Bank. Before, we had solutions which were manual. We had solutions which were not scalable, not shareable with other network banks, and also we were fully based and relied on Excel calculations and communications via email. Now we are fully in line with our digital transformation and innovation strategy. We have solutions that are flexible, that are fully scalable, shareable, and basically reusable between other network banks. And one of the main values that we accomplish here is that we change the way how we cooperate with the business, because with this solution we basically put the power of risk calculations in the hands of the business, and this will basically change the way how we operate in the future. I hope that you have enjoyed today's presentation, and I hope that you have some questions for us. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Or quite silent?
They're too tired.
Or you can add on if you want. Everything is clear. No, well, I mean...
Or nothing is clear.
Not too many bank clients here.
Yeah.
If not, let me get your sort of diplomas. Thank you. So for Nikola.
Thank you.
Vladimir and Uros. I hope it's...
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. So this was about what was the name? The risk?
Forward-looking solution.
Forward-looking solution. Thank you.